Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting. First order of business is to approve last month's committee meeting minutes. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. First of all, I would like to welcome to the committee Supervisor Bramer and Supervisor Hyde, who is not here, who I'm sure we understand why not. Hopefully that will be resolved sooner than later. So thank you for coming to this special meeting of Finance. We have 13 resolutions that need to be passed that are going to appear on Friday's board meeting. These usually are done through budgetary process, but there are a couple of items that I believe some of the supervisors would like to vet before we get to the board meeting. So that is why we are here today. So thank you very much. Starting with the action item number 1, we have a request.
Point of order, privilege of the floor.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, Travis. My bad. Go right ahead.
Queensberry. First of all, thank you for acknowledging me, but privilege of the floor at this point in time is not as useful as if, the public were able to discuss things after things are introduced and you were just about to get into there, and I would, I'll take what I can get, but I think in the past that we've been able to discuss things as they come up, and that's been better. Or even at the very end, when I can go ahead and then critique what you've done, and hopefully, improve things the next time around. But I'll take what I got here, and I'll try to make some preemptive notes on some of the things that I see coming up. I apologize in advance if I'm off base on any of this stuff, but it is what it is, and here it is at the beginning. First off, the...
Travis,
yes?
if you would like, I can call on you after.
Thank you.
I will do that. Okay? Okay, let's start with number 1, request items to be discussed by the County Treasurer. Request for a new contract with Tyler Technologies in the amount not to exceed $45,765.33 for the annual maintenance and support on the New World software. Michael, would you like to come to the podium? Do you want to explain this? Or there's no need to? No need to? Does anybody have a problem with it? No? Okay.
Yes.
Well, you would like it?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
This is our annual maintenance contract for support services for our financial and payroll software systems. And we just ended our 5-year contract with them, so this is a renewal for an annual contract with them. They were recently purchased by a different company, and this company doesn't do 5-year contracts, so they want to do an annual contract instead. And we're looking at about a 5% increase over last year's annual fee.
Is this the only company, Rob, that handles this?
Yeah, it's their software system, so they
It's their
provide the
software
support. It's not anything that you can go out and get another vendor to do.
Gotcha.
This is, oops,
No, go ahead.
this is the New World system,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
Supervisor Beatty?
Do you anticipate then, as this being a means of them looking basically for a 5% increase each year instead of, obviously if they do a 5-year contract, it wouldn't have included a 25% increase. So
Yeah,
this is a way of them
Right.
getting a 5% every year, and basically we don't have a lot of options. Is that correct, Mike?
Right. Yeah, you're kind of locked into what they have. Unless you want to go with another system, which you're looking at maybe $1 million to get a new system, and then you're still going to have the annual maintenance fees with any company.
Is there any way we can explore other options? I mean, maybe there aren't any, but, I mean, just as a false safe, because to me, we're almost being held hostage here. What if they say next year we want to go 10% increase? We got to do it, or?
Yeah, if you want to use their system.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hate being pigeonholed on things and having no way out. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But the only issue would be that the system is system that we've been using since 2004,
Mhm.
and you know it works for us. It works for all the departments. And we don't have any problems with it.
Is there a way that we can bring them to the table and ask for a 4 or 5 year contract going after this year, and try to lock in some pricing that so that we aren't held to these 5, 6, 7, whatever they're going to do every year? I mean, can we?
Yeah, we can approach them.
Okay, I think
asked
that-
them that, and they said they don't do 5-year contracts.
Okay, but to say, I understand that, but that's what we would look, you know, they can say that, and that's, sure they're gonna say that, but I think we need to push them on
Not gonna
looking for a
hurt.
5-year
It's
contract.
not gonna hurt, even if they do a 3.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I just don't like the way this is set up and rolling now.
Supervisor Wild, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Rob, I'm just curious, it seems like pretty expensive for a 1-year maintenance contract. Do you understand, can you explain what it entails?
It entails annual updates, any improvements, fixes to the existing system that come up
Do we get phone support?
Yeah.
Get outside support also with this?
You can. You'd have to pay for the travel, but they could provide. But it's mainly for the phone.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Does this include the WC?
That's a separate thing. Yeah, that was just a one-time thing. That's.
World doesn't include
Oh yeah, the thing that, well, I don't know if Mike wants to talk about that more, but the thing for the W2, it's not really for W2s, it's for the system upgrade to the different server, that we had to upgrade it to a server, and then we had to do a migration to that server, and we needed their assistance to do the migration. Not an annual maintenance type thing.
Yes. Supervisor Love, did you have a question?
I guess I'm confused. If New World does payroll, why doesn't it generate W2?
It does.
I can expand on that one, can't they? So in years past, we get our maintenance, and every time you got a new server, they always included, hey, you know, we migration to the server. And so this year was the same thing, you know, we returned to the upgrade. And right or wrong, they made it so you can't, if you would well say that, it would be nice if it was on the front. Look out for the process, and they tell you, right, this is included, and we could not get the other. Yeah, not included in the other thing. We had a choice if you wanted to keep using the system, you have to do it.
Well, that should be another negotiating point.
Yeah, well, I agree. It's something brand new that they kind of like sprung on us, I guess. You are kind of like tied to it because you can't really switch systems on the fly. Or else they give yours and you want to replace it. So, and they know that. They know, okay, we're going to get you the $6,000 because your alternative is going to make money somewhere else. Well, yeah, because, you know, now that we see what has happened is trying to push back a little bit.
So it's a 5% increase plus $6,000.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me, because obviously they got us now in this yearly contract mode, 5% or more every year. That's scary to me when a vendor does that. And I've been in that vendor world and stuff, and that's just not right, I'll be honest with you. That's just not fair negotiating. So I would implore this committee to insist that we do everything we can to bring them to the table to talk these issues out and to try to get at least a minimum of a 3-year contract.
I think we need to bring them in to face
Yes,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Bring them in, let's sit down, let's discuss these issues. And I'd be glad to be part of that team that talks to them.
Just want to bring up, too, that the sheriff uses them as well.
Mhm.
They have substantial contracts with them, and I think they're in the same situation where they're going to have 1-year contracts.
Okay, Supervisor Loeb, Stroud, and then Merlino.
Chairman, 45,700 representing 5%, or 5% bring in something like 45,000?
It's a 5% from last year. 5% increase from last year.
45,700 is 5% more than
Last year.
Right. Yes.
Supervisor Stroud.
Yeah, does Tyler provide the county with off-site server for redundancy and data preservation?
We don't use that. They do offer it.
Yeah, I know they offer it in the town.
Right.
All right, but we we do provide that service, but through another way.
Yeah, we have in-house servers.
Yeah, well, in-house, I mean, do you have redundancy and data preservation off-site?
That Mike would have to answer that.
Yeah, right now what we do is we have a physical server in this building which runs everything, and it backs up over to the human services building, so everything's two separate places. And we're working on another backup that's going to go to Warrenburg. So we have like a bigger physical separation.
All right, okay, thank you.
Supervisor Molina?
Yeah, my only comment is that, and I have to agree with some of the people, you know, these contracts, I think starting this year, we should make a policy or somehow get with people, start looking at these things at the end of September and into October. So we're not always waiting until January 1st, which we need them to do right now, otherwise we don't have the service. And it would work out and look at all our contracts back in September and October of this year for next year, and give us some time to look at it, because there's a couple other ones that might come up too today. That, you know, we'll wait till the last minute sometimes and look at these contracts, and when they expire, we've got to renew them.
Well, even during the budget process, we could do it.
Early in the budget,
No.
yeah, something so that these people can come in and give us a quote next year, and maybe we might not like that 5%, or like Mr. Beatty says, 10%. Well, that gives us time to make some decisions instead of last minute.
Well, we used to get the invoices in November, but with the changeover from
But
New World to
November is a
Tyler-
long time, because, you know, it takes 2 months to get out RFPs and responses and everything else, and before you know it, it's into January. I'd like to see it in October when we're doing the budget.
Supervisor Bramer?
I think that's a great idea, because a lot of these contracts have specific services, and hopefully we can add some measurable goals to some of them, and can look at that in September to see if they're meeting their goals, and if not, we need to switch and go to somebody else. We have to know that before the end of the year, so we're
Yes,
not
ma'am.
left without service.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, this is an automatic renewal contract, so once it's signed, it's going to automatically renew every year unless a party cancels 90 days in advance.
Was it going to renew at an increase?
Could.
Okay, now I'm confused. So, this is an automatic renewal, so if we sign this contract, if we approve this, they automatic renew it for 2000, and this is for 2018 now, so it automatically gets renewed in 2019, and they have the prerogative to put in whatever percent increase they want?
Unless we cancel 90 days in advance of the renewal.
Well, we need to get them to the table immediately and start discussing these issues. This is very disconcerting to me. And the other thing is that $6,000 adds 12% more to the contract. So let's be clear, they're going up 5%, adding another sidebar 12% to this contract. So let's be real clear on the numbers here. And so now I'm more concerned than ever. So my recommendation would be, let's get them to the table, let's discuss these issues, let's get this thing going, and again, I'd be glad to be part of that committee that talks to them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, Supervisor Wells?
Sure, thanks again. It appears we might have some leverage with the Sheriff's Department and the town of Queensbury also choosing the software. Are we taking advantage of any of that leverage?
John, what's our contract with them? How much?
We have a 5-year contract. When we went back to New World, I believe 2013. After the end of that, I looked to renew. Again, for a period of time, we know we're not going to change our tasks. And we're not going to change our law enforcement record management. And it said we don't do multi-year contracts anymore. And we are stuck in the same boat with that.
What is that yearly contract?
I don't know exactly. It's in the $50,000 range.
We got the same,
Same
we're paying
thing.
them 50, or Rob's paying them 50. And I think my experience in trying to change vendors, as they all do it, you get comfortable with them. We've had them for 15 years now. Go ahead, get rid of it. Start another one. You're gonna cause all that problems, but you're gonna have to pay us. That's ridiculous.
So you saw the same 5% increase this year?
Yeah, I believe it was.
I don't recall exactly what the percentage was, but there was no negotiating on this. It was going to be no longer multi-year contracts.
And basically, if you don't like it, then we cancel 90 days.
Right.
We'll take our stuff out. And it's very problematic.
Yeah.
Because we've got all our management.
Supervisor Bates?
But one final comment, and I get that, and you're correct. And here's what we sometimes up here at the county don't understand. It's called leverage. It's called bad publicity. It's called, and that has a ripple down effect, i.e. Siemens and so forth. That's a perfect example. They fought like hell so they didn't get bad publicity. Tyler, smaller company, I get all that, but I've also negotiated before with vendors, and most vendors can't stand any hint of bad publicity or bad, and that would get out there. And my position is we have that leverage, okay? You know, and we make it known in an indirect way that, hey, yeah, maybe we'll have to give you a 90-day notice. We'll make sure all the other entities and municipalities are aware of this too. That's called leverage, and that's called fair negotiation, and that's why I think we have a little more power than some people actually realize we have. It's worth a try. That's all I can say. It's worth an effort.
Okay. We need a motion and a second to approve this. Motion made by Supervisor Strauss, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt.
We don't have any other alternative right now.
Did you have a question, Supervisor Brown? No? Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a first and a second, and we will follow up with discussions with Tyler and hopefully get some kind of a contract in the forthcoming years. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I add, I think what the board members are saying is accurate, because if you get the town of Queensbury, you get the county of Warren to figure out how much all their contracts are, that's a lot of money. How much is our contract with them, Sean?
Through Tyler Technologies,
No, all right, and you guys gotta, but I mean, to take it out and to do it. What's Queensbury, John, do you know?
I don't know.
So I think if you got the entities together, that's probably, they might do.
How about a shared, Supervisor Beatty, how about a shared service plan?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, well,
Mary?
I don't know if that qualifies for this, but I'm always open to anything.
Why not?
Mary, go ahead.
Mike and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they actually need action on this $45,000 because I believe they've been using it since July. No. Am I
December.
wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. What?
December.
Oh, so you don't need to pay this month?
But yeah, we have to pay it.
Just voted on it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just say we just voted on it. Just voted on it.
I thought they had been using it. I thought they needed it.
You know, Supervisor Wild.
There are more questions. There are typically tiers to service contracts. You know, the carte blanche versus tier 2, 3, whatever. Are there different tiers that we could use?
No, not with them. Yeah.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. We already voted on this? Okay. Let's move on.
Thanks, Rob.
Item 2. Under A, we have resolution number 25, request for continuation of the agreement with Economic Development Corp. In the amount not to exceed $349,000 for the purposes of promoting and publicizing the advantages of Warren County and to promote economic development, job creation, and workforce development in the Warren County region. Motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, second by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? Yes, Supervisor.
Thanks. I think this is one of the ones where EDC does a great job coming to our meetings and giving us updates so we know what's happening. I also think this is one where we might be able to add some measurable goals. I know in their Schedule A from the last contract, or I'm sorry, Exhibit A, it talks about bringing in new businesses and working to market our area. Can we put in there something like, and maybe not this year, maybe in September when we look at it again, saying we're going to bring in 3 new businesses. And once they've done that, then we can say great, and we can show that we are getting our dollars worth out of these contracts.
So you're making
Do
this
we-
money prohibitive on the amount of people that they would bring in? Is that what you want to attach it to?
My point is, one of my questions is, do we have a Schedule A for 2018? What they are proposing to do for 2018?
No, Mary said we do not. For 2018, we don't. But, I mean, it's committee's pleasure. If you guys, go ahead, Supervisor McDevitt.
I think it's very difficult in this kind of a situation to put in place objective, measurable goals. I work with Ed and Jennifer probably, and we're in their office maybe a couple of times a month. I think it's hard to do that. The job creation is the key to basically salvation. And anyone that's a full-time supervisor knows that we have to do everything possible to create
jobs in our community. So, but again, I feel in some ways that's I think they're motivated enough. I think on a day-to-day basis they consider it to be a victory to enhance job creation. And I think the latest example is Jennifer and Ed with Nettle Farm in Thurman. Okay, I mean, here we have a situation where we put in place a package for these folks, preserving 20 jobs, ensuring that local suppliers got paid, and ensuring that someone has an opportunity to expand their business. Okay, so I think that's a good example of the preservation, which in a way you can argue is like the creation of jobs. But again, I've got some concerns about putting objective criteria in this kind of a situation. What do you think?
Yes, I'm on the EDC board, so I'll recuse from voting on this, but I also want to say that Ed does have a business plan and a projection for the year. And Ed and the team at the EDC have great connections down in Albany, and they brought millions of dollars in DDRI down to downtown. And so it's difficult to set up an objective thing because it's not that kind of world. It's a kind of world where you are going to make every effort to attract business to the area, but you can't guarantee anything. But if you want to look at results and what they've done in the past, I think you've seen a very successful record.
Supervisor Bramer, did you have a question?
I just, one point that Supervisor McDevitt brought to my mind is, well, what are our workforce retention rates? I mean, we're trying to keep people here. What are they? Are we tracking that? And, could EDC do a better job of just telling us what those are? And telling
Sure, they
us?
could bring that
Yeah.
to the committee meeting.
To that committee, that's fine.
We can ask that question in the committee meeting.
Well, one of the things, yeah, I agree, they do a great job, but one of the things we could ask is that, they make a concerted effort to visit each community once a year as a goal to visit each community, sit down with the supervisors or whoever the Chamber of Commerce is, and visit with them each year to see if each community has certain needs that they need. They do that informally, but we could add it into the contract where it's a requirement that each year they go around to the 11 communities in the county and sit down and scope out plans. And I don't think that hurts, setting a minimum gold standard or something like that. And he does it. He does a lot of that now, but just to get it in writing, it gives them something to shoot for.
Okay.
But I think we're on track. They do a great job.
Travis?
Well, Mr. Bartholomew is a great promoter, I'll give him that, but you hear all the successes and you don't hear about the failures, and it would be nice if there was some balance to this. Their statistics aren't exactly Hacker Vote, 60 jobs we got in Queensbury. Read it in the newspaper a couple of years ago. That never happened. North Country Veterinarian, they went ahead and gave them that beautiful building. Supposed to create 20 jobs. That didn't happen. Glens Falls Hospital is probably by far the largest one. They say they claim 600 additional jobs, from Glens Falls Hospital. The bulk of that is, jobs they took in from other little, 2- and 3-man or 10-man outfits that they absorbed into. I mean, those are still jobs in the community. It might be 600 now, Glens Falls, but you have 600 less someplace else. I just think you need to get a better understanding of what you're getting for $349,000. Queensbury costs in another $100,000 plus every year. It probably deserves some attention. And I think Mr. Bartholomew could probably tell you a lot of these things, and maybe in balance, it makes sense. But I think you need to hear the whole story.
Right, we haven't asked, but I think we're meeting with them Monday, correct?
Yeah, the EDC's on the schedule.
We can pose these questions. Okay, anyone else? If not, we do have a motion and we do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Moving on, B, resolution. Yes.
Ship already sailed, John.
B is resolution number 26, is the request for continuation of the agreement with Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board for Warren County's share of the actual cost of operation of the review board in the amount of $7,500.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Strau, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? No one recusing?
Yes. I'm on the board,
You
so
are.
I can't vote.
So am I.
We're the reps.
Okay, all right. See, that's why I asked. All in favor, all in favor?
Aye. Oh,
Okay. Jesus.
you stay down.
Here we go. C, number 27, request for an agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Warren County to provide youth a residential camping experience in Warren County at Sky Farm Camp, and it's not to exceed the amount of $25,000. Anyone?
I'll make that motion. I think it's a great program.
I do too. Motion made by Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Discussion? Yes.
Thank you. I looked at the website for this camp, and it looks like an awesome camp. I went to church camp all growing up, and I think it's an amazing experience. I do not, however, think we should be funding kids to go to a church camp in the summer.
Okay. Who's back there? Yes, Supervisor Leggett.
Facility. I'm not sure if the camping that the Cornell Extension sent kids to is the actual.
If Cornell is running programming and doing it at that camp facility, I think that's different, but I'm not sure that's what's happening. I'm sorry.
No, I think Supervisor Garrity wants to weigh in.
Yeah, I don't think this is a church camp. I think it's a facility run by the church, but it's, I don't think the programs are religious. I think they're more like summer programs. That's what I've always had to believe, is a separation between.
That's what the paperwork said.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
they
think
send
it was
to the
any
towns if we have
religious
kids
base.
who want to go, and you don't see anything that says this is the kind of
No,
thing
I
that
don't
you're
think
going to
it's
have as far as
religious
religion goes.
camp.
Why do you say that?
They're on their programming on the website. I don't know what documentation you're talking about, Supervisor Frazier. Just on what I could see on the website, it's a Christian-based, Methodist-focused church camp. I am a Christian. I'll put that right out there. But why are we doing this? If it's to promote kids going to a summer camp overnight thing, their programming is. They talk about their Christian programming in the camp throughout the week, like prayers and.
Well, that's terrible, isn't it?
If there's some other thing, I'd be happy to entertain that understanding.
Okay. We can put this one on hold,
Sure.
and we'll go on with the rest of the agenda. We'll come back to this one. Okay, moving on to number 20, or item D, resolution 28. Oh, okay, yes.
Pardon me?
Withdraw that temporarily.
I'll withdraw it until Kevin gets
Yeah,
back.
till Kevin's going to call up Dr. Seeley, so hopefully we can get some answers. All right. D, resolution 28, request for an agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Warren County for educational work in agriculture, home economics, and 4-H for an amount not to exceed $421,214.
We're going to have questions first or second?
Well, we get a motion and a second to get this on the floor. Motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, second by Supervisor Strau. Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you. I just would like to know, $421,214. I'm a big sponsor of Cornell Cooperative. I was on there as a representative of the county for a few years, and they do great work. I was just wondering where that number stands to last year's number. Is that an increase, decrease?
That was a 9% pay increase,
About $10,000. You mean 2017 over 2016? We don't have 50,000 this year. We're going up 10,000.
They were trying to get back to where they were.
And which was around 5 or 6, I think, was it? Right about same number, okay. All right, thank you, I'm fine with that, thank you.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you. Do we have the 2018 budget that they, I think, prepared? Maybe they gave it to Supervisor Thomas?
Yep, I have the
Oh, okay, thank you.
Aye. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, moving on to item E, Resolution 29, request to authorize payment to Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board in the amount of $7,000 as Warren County proportionate share in conjunction with other participating counties of Clinton, Essex, Hamilton, and Washington. On every board, Mr. Simpson?
I am. I guess I'm going to talk to the
I was
chairman
just
about
gonna
that
say.
one. I'm not going to be able to do anything anymore.
Do we need a motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, second by Supervisor Stroud?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you raised your hand.
On the board, too.
Oh, you are as well?
I'll make it.
Supervisor Frazier, seconds. Discussion.
Well, I guess
Yes.
I'm not real sure what they do. You're on the board. Now I'm on some
Okay.
committee with them too, but I mean, oh yeah, that's, okay, go ahead.
They do have, they do a lot of different things. They secure grants that are tied to economic growth in these 5 counties. They have a loan portfolio that was set up, I'm not sure how long ago. Do you know, John, how many years ago?
No, but you're
The
right on the
80s.
grants, and Beth Gillis,
Yeah.
and she's involved with all kinds of activities with the agriculture and with stormwater, and she attends many of the meetings we go to for lake quality preservation and so forth, so they're very involved, so, you know.
Does each county donate the same amount? Do we know?
I don't know if it's the same amount, but each county has a contract with them.
Supervisor Bates?
I've got 2 small concerns. Number one is I don't see a contract. I never saw a contract with these people. And number 2 is they owe us $30,000 right now. So I'll probably vote no on this. A, I didn't see any data contract, and B, I don't understand how they owe us $30,000 and we're going forward and saying here's another $7,000 when they haven't paid their bill that they owe us $30,000.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. I'm concerned about those 2 things, and also believe Treasurer Swan indicated in one of his reports in the fall that we are somehow paying for their payroll and sort of like fronting all this money for them that we really shouldn't be doing. I'm concerned mainly, I'd like to see this one on hold till especially till we have the contract, and figure out why they owe us money and why we are like putting out this money out front and then waiting for them to pay us back.
Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Soil Water Conservation District does a lot of work with those like Champlain, Lake George, and our water quality is part of that program. The $30,000, perhaps that's on grant funding, and perhaps could be a reimbursable catalyst. I'm not sure where that number came from.
Yeah, that
Hold on just a second.
sorry. Well, this, okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Rob, would you be able to address this, or do we have to wait for...
Yeah, the money that they owe us is reimbursement for the salary, the health insurance, the benefits, retirement, that we process their payroll. And I guess they're considered employees of Warren County, but they don't follow the rules, I guess, as far as salary increases. They determine their own salaries. And I had asked Mary to look into that more, but I'm not really sure how that got started. But they reimburse us for what we pay out for the benefits and the salary, and they're a little bit behind.
Supervisor Thomas, is this what we gave them last year?
Yes.
Okay, so we give them the same amount every year. Whatever they do on their end is their discretion.
2016 operating fund. Total revenues for $685,000. Expenditures. Total payroll expenditures was $40,000. Total operating expenditures, $332,000. Total expenditures of $772,601. They also outfund the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council. They fund do loans for many businesses started from the Caldwell Recreation. Grant Association, we work with soil and water basin, Lake Champlain Basin Program is connected with it, and they work through that out.
Do you want to mention that?
We did send a letter out to them a week ago saying, you know, you need to stay current on the portion of the payroll that they're not. So we did send that letter out, signed it last week, said, you know, you need to bring up the benefits portion.
Supervisor Simpson, did you?
I was just going to say, I went to their last meeting, I'm going to say it was 2 weeks ago, and I spoke to the executive director about that, Walter Young, and they said they're always 30 days behind because they have to bill. Or I don't know, I don't know the detail. How far is that behind?
Well, they were paid up to August for the health insurance and retirement. But I think we just got payment for September, so they are still behind one month.
Yeah, well, we just sent them out a letter putting them on notice that they had to stay current. Going from this point forward, there would be no more of this arrear stuff. So, I don't know, I can't remember the exact wording if you want me to get out. Go ahead.
Is there a way that instead of finding out 60 days or 90 days after the fact, that we find out when somebody's 30 days late? Because we're always doing this. And you know, as a supervisor, I don't get a phone call 90 days ago saying that the board that I sit on hasn't paid their bills with Warren County. But here we are sitting here questioning, you know, these people, and we didn't have the information.
Well, it was on our report.
What? Just 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That's a board meeting that we had, that it was brought up.
No, it's on the budget analysis report. That's where I read it, and then we have to send a letter out and get them up current. So I do. I try to react. Well, it was on the budget analysis report. I try to react when I read that stuff. Okay. Can I talk about the other one, though, real quick before I forget my train of thought? Okay. It is a religious-based run camp. It is optional if they partake in the religious portion of the camp, but they do offer services to the children who attend this camp. So, and I mentioned it to 4-H and to Cornell. I did mention it to them that we were having a discussion about that. It's an optional. If they can opt in or opt out. And I said, okay. But Claudia's right. It is a religious based, and they do have services. They're non-mandatory services.
Travis?
In regards to Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board, I don't think it's a matter so much of $7,000. It's a relatively small amount, you know, in our budget, but it's a matter of the legitimacy that you're giving to this organization. This organization, as pointed out, has a budget of $684,000 a year. They have millions and millions of dollars of grants in their names that they administer. David Decker was arrested because of a check written by the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board for $69,000, and that was the reason for that first arrest. They are not listed as a not-for-profit company, or they don't have any status, any legal status that I can detect. They're not looked at by the authority's budget office, which looks at things like the EDC and the LDC and the IDA. As far as I know, there is no oversight other than what this board might get, and you know, Hamilton County or Essex County or whoever else is participating. But you are giving them this legitimacy. And it's probably not something we should be giving lightly. And I just say, you know, when they're not paying their bills, $30,000 owed, checks going to David Decker, things like that. There might be some concerns here, and you might want to look into it further.
Supervisor McDivitt, do you have your hand up or no? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we do have a motion, we do have a second. We would like to call the vote, or did you want to have more discussion? No?
Well,
Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, I just don't have a good handle on this now. I'm more confused than ever. They may be county employees, they may not be. They're late 3-4 months. By the way, if it's I think you said September they paid, so October, November, December. Here we are halfway. They're 3.5 months behind. I mean, there's too many questions in my mind to support this at this time. They may be down the road once I get more comfortable, but right now I don't have, my gut says I don't have a good comfort level, so for that reason I'm going to...
Well, this is why we're doing this today.
Yeah.
Maybe by tomorrow, I don't know, maybe the acting administrator could get some answers, that way for the full board.
Well, maybe we should just table it.
We could do that as well.
We should just table it until we get
I'd be
the
fine with
clarification
that.
on
I make a motion to table.
The table,
I
by
second.
Supervisor Brammer.
no other discussion is tabled.
Right. Okay, so we are going to go back to item C. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor at the table?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? And abstain. 2 abstains. Okay, thank you. Okay, going back to Resolution 27. Acting Administrator Garrity just filled us in. What is the committee's pleasure? Would you like to vote on this, or?
I have no problem voting on this year, but I would suggest to Cornell, we should suggest to the Board of Directors at Cornell, they look for a different camp that is non-affiliated with religious, if people don't have a comfort level about that. I mean, we're kind of committed this year to find a camp. It is a lot of less fortunate children do attend the camp, and it is an outing. But I think we should certainly follow up with Cornell. Say, can you look for a different camp that is non-religious in the future? Perhaps next year. I would hate to pull the roll out from them this year, if possible.
Well, and as you said, it's not a religious geared, or if they want to participate, they can. If not, they have the option. Excuse me, Supervisor Gowan.
Yes, I have to say that I regularly used to attend it back in the 70s. And I remember, I think it was a good getaway for the parents to get the kids out of the house. We are a Methodist family. But I have to say that I never felt the presence, except for maybe sitting around dinner time singing Kumbaya. It was about the only thing I remember. But the activities in the week of fun was the main thing I always remember of, from the camp. I never have heard that, they push it and it's an obligatory thing to, to make you attend. Like I said, it was always an option, and that was back in the, in the 70s. So, and I know it's been up there, many, many years. I just
Have another county event.
11. Supervisor Brammer, did you have a question? Okay. Supervisor Frazier, was your hand up? No?
Well, I'd like to make the motion that we approve it.
Okay.
Like Kevin said, it's a lot of kids who really wouldn't make it to camp if they didn't get this.
Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Beatty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to F. We have resolution number 30, request to authorize payment to the Southern Adirondack Library System in the amount of $45,000.
I'll make this motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor
I'll second it.
Garrity. Discussion? Yes.
This is another one that we did not receive the contract for, and I just don't know what we're paying for.
Well, I'll tell you what I know about it. It's money that's given to the system, and then they divvy it out to the smaller libraries throughout the county, I believe. The private, not the private, but the community libraries receive a little bit of this. Crandall Library keeps the biggest portion, correct, Frank?
Also goes to Crandall Library.
Right, Crandall gets the biggest portion.
Right. And was this the same amount as last year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
First half is Stony Creek.
It's too much, I would, no.
Yeah, and Lake Luzerne gets about that much. I think all the libraries get about that much, the little guys.
You guys want to vote against the library?
Just a motion to support it.
We do have a motion in a second already. Actually, Supervisor Simpson is. Did I see a hand back there, or did I not? No? Okay. Okay, so we do have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Resolution 31, request to authorize agreement with the City of Glens Falls for capital improvements to the Coles Woods, Eastfield, and Crandall Park Recreation Center ice rink for operation and maintenance or capital improvements of said facilities. Made by Supervisor Bramer, I'm hoping. Supervisor McDevitt, that would be nice. Okay. Discussion? Yes, Supervisor McDevitt.
Yeah, this rink is, for all practical purposes, is a regional facility. I mean, I believe the real estate is owned by the City of Glens Falls. We have many volunteers. I think the Queensbury High School hockey team works out there periodically, okay? So it, to a great extent, it's just people from all over the region, throughout the state. They just have hockey tournaments there on weekends. A very, very busy place, and it's good stuff.
Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks. I think it's great. Coles Woods is awesome, especially right now with all the snow, the trails. I do want to say I looked at this contract. We got this contract. It does have specific provisions that they have to comply with, and I have received some of the reporting, and it looks like they're doing that. I don't know if we have received all of the 2017 reporting, so that's something I'll follow up on.
Supervisor Beatty.
And the dollar amount,
It is
99, isn't it? 99,000?
100,000?
Yeah.
So the 100,000 would go to the improvement of Coles Woods, Eastfield, Crandall Park, the rec center there on Fire Road, and the operation and maintenance of these facilities. So basically, we're funding those facilities. I always thought it was Glens Falls, so shame on me for not knowing that the county funds it, not Glens Falls. But that, I'm fine with that. I think they're regional views. I'm fine with it.
Supervisor Thomas.
I didn't realize that.
I got 100,000. Going into the 2017 budget, I tried to reduce this to 49,000. And I was told at that time that they needed that extra money to do capital improvements at Eastfield and other facilities. I just wondered how they turned out.
Good question. That's a good question, though,
I don't know.
Supervisor.
Maybe we could put that as part of a follow-up question as well. Supervisor Legg?
Yeah, this brings up another point on how are we doing with follow-up on this contract agreement. Also, just like to say the town of Chester solely supports Dynamite Hill ski recreation area that includes sledding and ice rinks, cross-country trails. It's free and open to the public. It's solely supported by the town of Chester and its residents. And you can't believe how many people from Glens Falls and Queensbury come up and enjoy it.
Save me a spot.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on. Resolution 32. We're going on to H. Request to authorize continuation of contractual agreement with Adirondack North Country Association and Economic Development in Warren County for an amount of $1,500.
Make up for my...
Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Discussion? Go right ahead.
Looks like our agreement with them is from 1990, and I don't have a copy of that actual agreement, so maybe we could update that next year.
Yeah, I'm assuming not much has changed, but we can definitely provide you with that.
Have you seen the agreement?
Okay, we have a motion and a... Yes,
One more,
Supervisor.
thank you. So we haven't seen the agreement, but we have one from 1990, so that's the one we're using. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah.
I agree
We
with
can get an updated one.
Yeah.
I know it's only $1,500, but we can.
Right,
we
but
can definitely do it.
1,500, you
Yep.
know, it's the principle, yeah, that we
Yep.
need an updated contract.
We can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Travis.
You know, the issue again is it's only 1,500, but you're lending legitimately to an organization you know very little about. And in that contract, it does say that they are obligated to give you a report every 6 months. I have asked around, I haven't heard of anyone who's seen that report.
Come by robo?
What?
Come by robo?
I can tell you that it's online that they have millions of dollars of funds from the state of New York that are being expended here, there, and everywhere. So it should be an interesting report to see where that money is going. Again, not a question of 1,500, but you're lending your name to this, so you should know what's going on.
We will. Yep, we will. Did we vote on that? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Supervisor Hyde, you missed my opening statements, but welcome to the Finance Committee, and we also wished you luck
Thank you.
sooner than later. Okay, we are on item I on our agenda, and that is resolution number 33, authorizing continuation of contractual relationship with the Warren County Historical Society in an amount not to exceed $2,500. Motion made by you on that one? Okay. Motion made by Supervisor Molino, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to J. Resolution number 34, request for an agreement with the Warren County LDC to perform economic development, planning, and grant and loan administration services on behalf of Warren County in an amount not to exceed $50,000. By Supervisor Kevin. By Supervisor
I'll second it, get it on the floor.
Gary. Does anyone have a question? Supervisor Brammer?
Can someone, I know I'm not brand new to the board, but what is the difference between the Warren County EDC and the Warren County LDC? And why is it we need to give these guys, I mean, we're giving them almost $500,000 between the two things.
I'm on the LDC. I've been on the LDC for 12 years. What the LDC mostly does is help small businesses get loans or back loans. Not always the loan holder. We are the second on a bank loan. Again, we just took that place up in Thurman. We get them loans, and it's a great organization. You know, we just help a lot of small businesses, and we go after the ones we just closed on 2 this year that weren't making the payments, and so we go after them. So I mean, it's a small group. We meet once a month, but it's mainly there to help business people in Warren County, small business especially, or businesses that are operating and that run into a little difficulty or have a bad year, and we lend them money. You know, this is a pool of money that comes in.
So there's not as much overlap between what EDC does and
Totally
LDC.
different.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good explanation, Chief.
Well, that's why you're the chairman. You should have.
You said it all. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I didn't realize that you were chairman.
Okay, moving on, we have item K, Resolution 35, and that is a request to renew agreement with Warren County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Incorporated to furnish and perform certain services in prevention of cruelty to animals for an amount not to exceed $100,000. Motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor
I'll say.
Merlino. Discussion? Discussion? Go ahead.
There's a lot of concerns about this contract, about the amount of money that SPCA is receiving from the county. It would be my suggestion, in order for us to have time to vet this, that we try to extend the contract for 3 months with this organization and put an RFP out for renewal for going further with the contract. At least if we seek out and see if they'll extend the contract for 3 months, it gives us 90 days to put together an RFP and have further discussions on this contract. There's been enough back and forth on the contract to certainly warrant a lot of discussion on this. And we don't want to leave the county without coverage for a short period of time, and then if the committee feels comfortable, then we could put out an RFP for the whole contract in the future and try to nail down some of the inconsistencies that we feel go on with this.
So the amount attached to this would be a quarter of the...
Well, well, it's up to the committee to make it.
Is that a motion? Can you make a motion?
That's my discussion. That's my discussion area. You have a motion
right
a second, and I know that there's concern about the contract. If we extend it for 3 months, if the organization agrees to do it for 3 months, we can certainly put an RFP out for the full services that they offer in the future. But that's up to that's up to the committee, whatever they want to do.
Can we publicly air the concerns of what the issues are?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
And I want to start out by saying that Warren County SPCA recently brought on a volunteer to help them with their communications efforts, and that person and I have been communicating, and I think that we can work this out, but I do think that we cannot re-approve this particular contract. There are a lot of things in there that maybe we don't need them to be doing, or the sheriff's still here. Maybe we can work out a new agreement with how the sheriff is utilizing their services and how we pay for those, particularly with the animal cruelty thing. I mean, I think that falls under the sheriff's jurisdiction initially, and that they are supporting the sheriff on the ground. One of the problems that I have is the current contract is a reimbursement contract. It says, we're going to reimburse you for the expenses. So in my mind, they're picking up the county's cats, and they're putting them in a shelter until they can get them adopted out, or, at the very worst case, they're euthanizing them. Where are the expenses showing how many cats they've sheltered, I'm so sorry, and how much it's cost them, so that they're billing the county for those expenses? Or if they euthanize the cat, they should have vet bills for that kind of stuff, and then we pay out the vet bill. We don't see that. We see their profit and loss sheet that says we've spent this much on veterinary bills, on cat food, on transportation. They even have their lawyers' bills on there, which I do not think we should be paying. There's some food expenses for themselves, which why are we paying for that? And so I think we need to ask them to report just what they're doing for the county, because right now they're giving us call logs in addition to their profit loss sheet, which shows their entire business operations. They're showing us call logs for every single call they take as a nonprofit organization. I don't care what they're doing for the town of Fort Anne. I want to know what they're doing for Warren County under our contract. I don't care what they're doing for Queensberry Dog Control under that contract. I want to see what they're doing for us, and they've told me they don't have their accounting system set up right now to do that, and that they're working on that. I mean, maybe I think you're on the board, right? So I think
no, I'm not on the board.
Oh, you're not on the board.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
let me clarify.
So I think that we can work it out. I think it's a great idea to extend our services so we're not covered. And maybe we go out for RFP. There could be other people. I know there's another.
Go ahead,
does that air it out enough? I think that's
my major. I think you have certainly expressed your points very well. I think we clearly need more communication from the group in terms of what they're doing and what they not do. And I think if there's one thing that's lacking is that periodically this group ought to come forward like other groups do, and maybe every 90 days, and give us an explanation of what you do. Kind of help us understand what you do on a day-to-day basis for Warren County. Let me clarify just a couple of things, if I may. I am not on the board. My son currently happens to be president of the ASPCA. So there are a number of very good volunteers in the community, from bankers to people that are just care for animals, care for pets. These are all volunteers. These are non-paid positions. I have had a certain editor from I think the community Chester, I think. think that's where she's located, who has asked me to resign, okay, because she has suggested that I have a conflict of interest of voting on this specific issue because my son happens to be on the board, okay? Number one. Number two, no money has changed hands. I don't get a nickel. I'm not involved with this board. He doesn't get a nickel. It's all volunteer. The organization he works for, they hold meetings there maybe once a month in their conference room to kind of figure out where they're going, okay? So I think we need more information shed on it, and I don't know if the sheriff would, in terms of what we know about this organization, I don't follow that.
Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, if you recall, this board was the one that started the contract with them before the sheriff got involved. You got the sheriff involved last spring when you wanted more oversight or more, I guess, something that could oversee what they're doing. I said, okay, if you want to put it with us, fine. But if you're asking me to go through that contract and see everything that you folks developed, the contract with them, whether they're abiding by it, I'm not going to do that. You're going to pay me more money. You know, I did this voluntarily. So if you want my gut on this, like my gut is, in 40 years of dealing with animal control officers in each of the towns, in every place that I've ever worked, you can never get an animal control officer to come out when you need them. Everything is pushed off onto the police. Okay? You got a rabid raccoon, and somebody happens to shoot him. Who's going to take care of him? Is it the animal control officer? Well, technically they're supposed to come out. They're not going to come out. You call DEC. No, we don't have enough people. We're not going to come out. They'll call the sheriff. The sheriff ends up doing it. So Jimmy and his group are the first people that I've dealt with in 40 years that if somebody calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning with, I got a bull that's not getting fed, I can call Jimmy any time of the night. He answers his doggone phone, and he goes and he takes care of it. Whether it's his job or not, he does it. Because he does care about animals. Case in fact, New Year's Eve, we got a bull up north that's not being taken care of and a bunch of animals dying in the cold. He has to rent a U-Haul vehicle to go pick up that bull. He has to pay for that through SPCA funds. Okay, is it some of the funds Warren County gives? Maybe, but he has to pay for that, and he has to find a home for that bull. You show me an animal control officer in any of your towns that's going to do that for the Warren County Sheriff or the New York State Police. Not going to happen. And I can tell you, in the law enforcement community, Jimmy Fitzgerald is well respected by the New York State Police and the Warren County Sheriff's Office because he comes every time we call. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you about the contract. You guys developed the contract. If you want to do an RFP, do it. But if you're going to hire somebody else that can come in cheaper, then you better look at their credentials and make sure they can do the job, to make sure that if I call them at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going to show up. Because I'm not going to recommend anybody else.
Very well said. I agree with you 100%. I've had occasions in our plaza where we've had skunks underneath some sheds, and all hours of the night I call him up, and he'll show up.
He'll show up.
Zero problems, zero questions.
And you will not get DEC. DEC will not come. And I spoke to DEC. They called me particularly because of this North Country editor, if that's what you want to call her. She's a blogger, okay? North Country blogger. Anybody who listens to anything that's on this blog, it is it's not factual. It can't be supported by all the facts. Maybe some things are true, not all of it. But saying that he can't deal with wild animals. The DEC guy called me up. What is his name? He said, Bud, Jim is a licensed nuisance wildlife handler, and he does all this work for us. We can't get out and do it. We call him all the time. They love it. So that's what I can tell you. That's what I know in the law enforcement community.
Thank you for that, Sheriff. Supervisor Leggett, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, thank you. I think what we're dealing with here is a poorly written contract, and it was put into the sheriff's hands there. When you look at what is described in there and reporting, it was never carried under our administrative board, and that's why it went up to the sheriff's department. I hope that would be better, but until the language is fixed, and even what is it the county wants? I have talked to the county administrator in Washington County, I've talked to the county manager in Essex County and how they handle these things. They do not have a $100,000 contract like we do. So, thinking through common sense, as Supervisor Beatty always urges us to do, what is it we are buying? Do we need just to go through that? I think Supervisor Garrity's suggestion is a very good one. It makes sense.
Supervisor McDougall.
Yes, just a couple of quick examples of what the sheriff just pointed out. And this goes back about 10 years ago. 7:30 Saturday morning, look out my front window. There's an Alaskan Malamute, in front of my house. Okay, looks like he got away from a leash. Okay, I then look further. There's a second Alaskan Malamute. Fido 1 and Fido 2. Okay, I don't know if you know anything about Alaskan Malamutes, but they're pretty big dogs. They can be aggressive. Okay, in packs they can be dangerous. I go out. I get Fido 1, I get him in my backyard. I go out, I get Fido 2, I get him in my backyard, okay? I go inside, I get some water, they drink the water, I go inside, I get some food, they eat the water, we're bonding together, okay? I then call, I think I called the police department, and they said, oh my goodness, we're looking for those guys, where are they? They're in my backyard. So who responds but the Glens Falls Police Department, okay? And he comes, and I say, I've got a couple of Malamutes. He looks in the backyard, and he says, holy shit, I just, he doesn't want to go near him, okay? So I said, what do you want to do? He says, well, I got to take him up to West now to a vet up there. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, do you want him in the front seat with you, both Fido 1 and Fido 2, or would you like him in the back seat, okay? And he opens the back door, and I say, sir, officer, let me take care of the dogs, okay? Because he can tell he's scared. He's a little nervous. You can tell. So you have Fido 1 in the back, Fido 2 in the back. But my point is this: I ask him the question, where's the animal control officer in the city of Glens Falls? And you know what he says? He says she doesn't work on weekends.
Thank you.
Work on weekends?
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you. And that's the problem in all the towns, is getting somebody to come out when you need them. They expect the police to go in there and to evaluate the two Malamutes, put them in their car. They're not trained to do that. That's not their job. The people that are trained to do it, that is their job. And the people that I deal with, when this first started, if you folks remember, you asked me to take it under, and I heard all these rumors about he's not a peace officer, he's not licensed, I said, okay, give me all your stuff, because that's what a good investigator does, and that's what I want. I said, I want to see your paperwork. I got all their paperwork. They were certified by DCPS. They got all this national training. They're dog whisperers, basically. Jim's been to all this training, and if they have this problem, they're going to know how to get that dog into their vehicle, into the van that we just gave them. They're going to use that. It's mind-blowing that the mistruths that are out there. If you have a question and you want the truth, call me. I will tell you. I will find out the truth. If they're not doing something right, I'm going to find it out, and I'll let you know.
Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, here's what I take away. I take away that service is 99% of this situation, job. And if this guy, Jim Fitzgerald, which I've had conversations, is the best at servicing a need that we all can agree on, there's a need. We all are animal lovers, every one of us, even if we don't own one. No one kicks an animal, no one does anything stupid. So if service is the paramount issue, then let's get the best person that we can who gives us that service. And I appreciate Mr. Leggett's common sense, and I agree with Mr. Garrity.
We can get it done.
Let's give this man a 3-month contract. I agree. Let's put it all for RFP. But again, with an RFP, sometimes price isn't always the driving factor. And if we can all agree that service is the number one criteria, then we gotta do the right thing and the common sense thing. And if this guy has a proven track record for giving paramount service, I hear example after example after example, and the last one I'll say is, I remember the two pit bulls down in Glens Falls about 3-4 months ago, and they called, Glens Falls called up their person that they have a contract with. She wouldn't answer the phone, she didn't come out. Who came out? Jim Fitzgerald. He handled a very dangerous situation. So, to me, common sense is common sense. If I got somebody who has a proven track record of giving unparalleled service for a crucial need, then I'm going to support this guy. Now, does he have to be better with his crossing the I's, dotting the I's, crossing the T's? I totally agree with that too. I'm not going to give him a free ride on saying, hey, we got to have the stuff, the information. But I'm probably going to support this guy as long as he follows the contract. And even if he comes in a little higher but his track record is proven, I'll make that common sense position myself. Thank you.
Supervisor Molina.
Everything. It's a little town like mine. Jim has done a great job last 2 years that he's been there. I mean, I get 10 calls, 15 calls a year, but there's nobody to pick up these animals. The EC doesn't come anymore. They don't come after skunks. We had a rabid fox maybe 2 months ago, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. They were there by 20 after. So, we need, the little towns need these, because even my dog warden at the time, they were only under ads and marketed, and they can only do so much. And we have bulls in our town, we have horses, we have cows, and they all get loose, and there's nobody to go after them, and, you wind them, they're on 9N, sometimes hit by cars. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have a private contract with him for my town, and I'll stick with it. What the county does, I think they should really realize.
Hold on. Supervisor Garrett.
I just want to say that I started contracting with Jim DCA a year ago. Totally happy. He does a great job, and he handles dogs for Warrensburg, but he also goes out on all the other calls that we don't hear about. He goes out on the abuse calls, and he's done a great job. And our town board renewed our contract with Jim for the following year, and I would keep renewing it because it's one of those things that we are responsible for on a town level, which is dog control. But he also takes care of everything. But and I'll just reiterate: if there's concerns about the contract, put out an RFP. Let's zero in on what we want in the RFP, and then. But I kind of agree with Doug. He may come in a little bit higher, but for my money, and if he gives us the service, which I believe he does, and he actually has come out when he was contracted with Warren County to dog calls in Warrensburg when our animal control officer didn't respond. Bud and most of the town supervisors understand that your animal control officer, it was hit and miss, and there would be a lot of times when the police were called for. But he is the best, and we renewed our contract, and I have no problem, and I don't think he would have a problem if we talk about redoing some.
Supervisor Brammer.
Nailing.
No, I'm not gonna, I don't wanna keep beating it. I mean, that's it. We need to redo the contract. We want the services that'll help the sheriff, but right now the contract is not.
You're right, Claudia.
It's not calling for what he's doing
the
for.
The contract, I think Craig hit it right on the head. What we need to do is, you said service. This needs to be a service contract, not a reimbursable contract. You folks decide what's it worth. Is it $100,000? Is it $50,000? Do an RFP, but make it a service contract.
Yeah.
Make it a service contract. Don't. I mean, if you're asking, all right, this is your vet bill. Who's going to look at that? I'm not going to look at that. And I think Travis brought it up. You could do that with all your contracts. Who's going to do that? You would hope that somebody that's overseeing the organization, which you gave to me, knows a little bit in the law enforcement community what's going on and whether they're performing their duties or not. I can do that. I cannot follow a reimbursable contract. That would be somebody like a lawyer would have. So I think a service contract would be the way to do it.
It's a good point, Sheriff.
I'd like to make a motion for the 3 months extension, but I know we have a motion on the table.
We do have a motion. We do have a second. Julie.
Before you do that,
Yeah.
I think the 3 months is a little bit of a tight time frame as far as going through the process giving the respondents time to give us a good proposal and then going to the process again. It's my 2 cents, but I'm taking a look at it.
Can I ask a question? If we're going to do a service contract, do we still need to have an RFP? You do?
I don't think 90 days is enough. I'd say 6 months.
I would think it's 6 months.
Yeah.
Are you revising your motion?
Yes, I will revise my motion to make it 6 months and whatever the terminology is, to send out an RFP and all that good stuff.
So at what amount?
50,000.
50,000 half? Okay, all right. I just want to make sure it's in. Mr. Molino, is that okay with you to go 6 months?
That's fine with me. I anything to help get it going and get it in the right way, but I like the service contract better. You know, one other thing, just real quick with Jim. I mean, I don't know, probably all supervisors that run towns have it, and I'm not federal. We have the number for him, like you have. He tells us, don't give it out to everybody, but when they call the other number and get the ASPCA, they leave a message or whatever the case may be. But when they call me, I call him on that number, he gets back to me 10 minutes, 15 minutes in most cases. So we can get the problem solved. And so I think it's just, I agree with some of the comments there. Logistics is tough. I mean, even to get a contract from them in the town of Lake Luzerne is twisted and pulled, and we can never get them, but they're working every day of the week, and that's some of the problem too.
I just want to make one more comment. That's a good point. I mean, maybe we roll this RFP into a shared services thing where we, as a county and the towns, give him one lump of money to do all this stuff instead of each little town giving him money and then us giving him money. And
that's not a bad idea, Claudia. I mean, you figure out what he's paying, what the town of Queensbury is paying him, what the town of Warrensburg is paying him, what the town of Colton is paying him, Thurman, Luzerne, Lake George. You figure out what all those towns are paying him to do. Those 6 towns are paying him to do animal control.
Dogs, we're doing dog control.
Animal control, not I'm talking wildlife, chickens, pigs,
Right, but
and
our
dogs.
contracts are
but he's
specifically.
overlapping. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. So if you figure out what you're paying for all those towns, you can say, all right, put it into the county contract.
I want to save money
Yeah, exactly.
by, okay.
I see what you're saying. Figure out what you're paying them right now,
Yeah.
and say, would you consider doing it? Take an RFP. Would you, whoever's going to do it, this is what we want. Would you guys consider doing this? Give us a price. You got time. And I think you're absolutely.
I don't know if you had a one-on-one conversation with Jimmy, but if you have not, it is worth. Let me just finish. I have his cell number in my pocket too. He is a dude that will go out on New Year's Eve to go wrangle up a bull. Okay, he did that. He has also told me, and I'm going to put it out there. There are a lot of expenses that he does not put forth. He pockets them. It's his money. So if we're going to talk about giving him some money, we want to keep this in the back of our minds that, you know, giving him a little extra for doing an umbrella, if you will, we better take into consideration the amount of money that he doesn't even tell us about. So there's some expenses that he does not even put forth. Just he loves what he does, and he will always do that.
The politics are involved here, Matt. They're accusing him, there are people in the community accusing him of building a swimming pool on county money, which is just ludicrous. You know, you want to make those accusations, fine, make those accusations, but you better be able to back them up.
Oh, I don't think. Supervisor Beatty.
I'd be willing to discuss shared services, this actually being maybe one of our additional things. Julie has 4,000 things, but that, and to do that, what I hear is there's separate...
Dog.
He has dogs only in Warrensburg. Other towns have dogs plus. Okay. So it's just dogs only.
Yes.
Okay. So
No,
the 11.
those town contracts cover chickens and all that kind of stuff too. Wild, pigs, yes they do.
No, they don't.
I looked at them myself. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, so I think I have the floor. So, I'd be willing to, if each town would just send in their contract to myself and Julie, I'd be willing to, you know, I speak for Julie too, and she does all the work, but that's how I roll. Look at the contracts, let's get a common denominator, and let's put out an RFP that would entail, now the towns all have to agree to that, obviously, Mr. Leggett and Matt and Cynthia all have to agree that that's what they want to do. I don't want to have 5 towns say, no, we want our own, we don't want to be part. But this, to me, is working together for a good solution, and shared services is the right avenue to take on this. We may be able to save a few bucks. So if you guys are willing to send us those contracts to Julie and myself, we can get this thing rolling, each town. Who is not here that is a town supervisor that we need to contact? Who? Johnsburg. Andrea Hogan. Could you make a note of that, Julie? Andrea Hogan. And who else? Bolton. Ron's right here.
We already contacted.
Okay, so Dennis Dickinson. So Dennis Dickinson. Good. So Dennis and Andrea, we just need their contracts. And does that sound good to everybody? Does that sound like a workable thing? Craig? You?
Put it out there, it's worth pursuing.
Good. Okay, sounds fair.
Okay, all right, we're gonna extend the contract for 6 months. In that time, we'll hopefully come up with some improvements on the contract, but, yeah, working with the sheriff. So, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to L, Resolution 36. Is a request to allocate funding earmarked for the purpose of combating aquatic invasive species in 2018, with $150,000 of the $250,000 being earmarked for distribution to towns having lakes located within Warren County other than Lake George.
I'll make a motion, we approve it, get it on the floor.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Go ahead, Chairman, or Acting Administrator Garrity.
No, I just...
Oh, I'm sorry.
I agree with the contract. We worked on hard, even putting this money out to help the other communities other than just the lake. I think it's I think most of the towns are fair with the amount. It's worked well. It certainly has helped the smaller communities, which were footing a lot of the bill by themselves. I know Chester and Horkin, and I believe Lake Luzerne, who all... So when we came into taking on the environmental concerns of invasive species, it's worked real well. So I support it. I don't have a lake.
Supervisor.
Rideau City doesn't get any money under this either. I would like to ask that we have the presentation. I've heard from Supervisor Merlino some of the challenges that they've gone through with theirs, but I would like to hear what the other towns are doing with the money, and the contract says that they would be providing a presentation to us about what they're doing.
We've always done a presentation every year, but since our committee has changed, we haven't had any invasives committee until I asked you a few months ago. So that has been a regular happening from our organization every single year.
Supervisor, did you have your hand up? No. Oh, I'm sorry, I saw Supervisor Leggett.
Yeah, I believe that our town is one of those lakes located within Warren County who has a public boat launch there, so all excursions are online for free, which means that the spread of supplies and basis is a very big threat. And so the supplement what we get dollar for dollar in order to keep Eurasian milfoil under control. Our program last year harvested 21,000 pounds of June lake with the help of this month. Otherwise, taxpayers around the lake put in the other dollars that matches that
Maybe we can revise the contract to say that the presentation will be made to the board, not to any specific committee, which is subject to the chairman's changing. You know, just say presentation to the board in January. That the language says they're going to make a presentation to the invasive species subcommittee, which doesn't exist anymore.
But it's under environmental concerns.
No, go ahead.
It's under environmental concerns. We rolled that all in to account for not just aquatic, but terrestrial and any other threats to our environment, because it's gone beyond. So
Well, we'll just ask Supervisor Dickinson.
I'm sure that'll.
Supervisor Loeb.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This discussion began with our concern about invasive species in George. We're pleased that it's involved in covering all the county. Well, this next statement made from the committee for invasive species, since this committee deals with the money, the contracts, I hope that the towns are getting all the resources that they need to get the maximum, bring forth the maximum fight against these invasive species, as opposed to us saying, well, you know, we can't afford more than $100,000. If we need to do $750,000, the towns are going back to the board saying, you know, we can't do everything we want to do this year, maybe next year. I don't find that acceptable. I just want to bring that to the board again, that we have to keep our avenues of communication open completely, so that the town can have its resources, whether they provide it themselves or they need help from the county, but they have to.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, item M. We have resolution number 37. And that is a request for an agreement with Lake George Park Commission in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the Commission's 2018 boat inspection boat washing program. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 38, item N, is a request to continue the contractual relationship with Lakes to Locks Passage for promotional and economic development in Warren County for an amount of $2,000. I'm sorry, did I miss you on the last one?
Sorry, can we go back to that prior resolution? And I know it's maybe close, but I did have a comment, and it's more along the concerns. I've launched my boat on the lake and taken advantage of those services, and I think it's awesome. But I've heard that there's some opportunities for people to kind of move their boats from lake to lake and kind of forego that process. Does anyone know if that's true or not?
Don't they tag your boat?
On Lake George.
Excuse me.
I think,
Get tagged.
Supervisor Garrity is correct, they tag your boat.
I thought they tagged your boat.
They tag your boat
Yeah.
when it gets washed.
I understand that. I've had my boat tagged. It's tagged right now in my garage, actually. But I heard from some people that they're coming from one part of the lake to another part of the lake. They didn't have to go through that inspection process. Does every boat that goes on the lake get inspected?
Okay, I'm 95% sure what I'm going to say is right. You get tagged. If you leave your boat in Lake George and go from Bolton Landing and bring it down to Lake George area, you don't have to have it, as long as it stays in the water.
Yeah, I'm talking about not being in the water.
Well, when it comes out of the water, it's got to get re-tagged again. If you go back into Lake George, you got to get it.
There's no exceptions to that.
I mean, it might be, but for the most part, you know, a tag is only good for a certain time, you know, like, it's got to come off, and then, like, you got it bought in your garage, it might have to be re-tagged in April or May when you put it back in.
As long as the tag is secure. But I just wanted to make sure that there were no exceptions for some of the locals here that they can move their boat from one place to the next.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah.
I don't think.
The mandatory program is just for Lake George.
Yeah.
We don't have an Adirondack-wide mandatory program. But we do have, for example, in Chester, for example, we have a boat wash inspection capability right there. In fact, it was one of the first. And also in Oregon, they have a program as well. It does help when you go to launch if the boat's already tagged, but it's not mandatory. It's not a mandatory program.
I'm just an avid boater that doesn't do Lake George.
Well, if you come out of Lake George, you get 1 or 2 tags. Go to the wash station, you get a certain color that says your boat's been cleaned and washed, and a lot of people take advantage of that because they are going to other lakes and they want people to know that the boat's been cleaned and washed. If you take it out of Lake George and you don't have it washed and they put a tag on that allows you to go back into Lake George, but it's not a tag that's going to be respected any other place that has an inspection program.
Well, just for the record, I've seen milfoil on many of these other lakes other than Lake George, and it can be quite extensive. And, you know, I'm all in support of expanding the program for other lakes if we ever get to that point. Thank you.
Supervisor Lake?
Yeah, thank you, and if I may say that our boat wash stations, both in Oregon on Loon Lake and in Chester on Loon Lake, are well trained, and they have caught several instances of boats that have been tagged and inspected from Lake George to be carrying aquatic invasive. So we do urge Lake George to be more thorough in their inspection of boats.
Travis?
I'd like to comment that the Lake George Park Commission has a grant for, I think, around $500,000 to fund this program. I'm not sure exactly why we need another $250,000 on top of that. And this report came out recently about the effectiveness of that program, and they mentioned that it had detected some sort of invasive species in 100 and some odd boats, mostly milfoil in 70 of those. And I'd just like to note that last year they took out over 22 tons of milfoil out of Lake George. So the fact that 70 boats might have been coming in with, you know, a few strings of milfoil from another lake doesn't seem to me like it's going to make any difference in the world to what's going on there. They actually detected, I think, one boat that had water chestnut, something that is not present in the lake at this point in time. That seems to be the total effectiveness of a $600,000 program. Now, I also mentioned that when the state reviewed this some years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, they advised against the boat washing because they didn't think it would be effective. There might be better ways to spend upwards of $500,000, $600,000, and you know, have it for what it's worth. Thank you.
President.
I just want to say one thing to that, Travis. Another benefit of that washing is that we're not getting the small-bodied organisms that Lake George has in Brant Lake or Schoon Lake. So it's as much as to protect Lake George as to protect other bodies from the transfer of lakes that have 2 invasives from other lakes. And that's the whole, it's like having a cold. Brant Lake doesn't have zebra mussels. Brant Lake doesn't have Asian clams. And that boat washing is critical in stopping that spread.
Right, but again, you're talking about a small amount, and you're taking care of the ducks that are flying in that, you know, have some chestnut that they're just expelling and stuff. I mean, it's going to get in, you know. So it's a matter of, is it worth the amount of money? Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yeah, I know we already passed this one, but I wanted to ask Supervisor Thomas if he has any clue what the state is giving them this year. Yeah, on this, no. I just wonder if it's going up or down or same.
I'll try to provide you that information.
Okay. All right, so I did read N. Do you want me to read it again, or do you want to have a motion and a second from the floor for Resolution 38?
I'll move N.
Okay, motion made by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Item 3, item to be discussed by the county attorney. Request to amend 283 of 2008 to increase the amount of the agreement with IBS Septic and Drain Service to an amount not to exceed $2,600 to account for the additional services provided in 2017, which exceeded the contract amount. Mary?
That's basically the request. The contract is for $2,000. It's a county-wide contract, usually brought to committee by Buildings and Grounds. There was an extra $600 the county went over. I can't tell you which departments. It's county-wide. So we just wanted to amend the contract to pay that last outstanding invoice.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Supervisor Merlino.
Apologize for this, now that we're finished with this. I'm going to let Mary explain most of this. but, you know, we passed in our budget and through OCTAX, Dennis is not here, $300,000 to go to the Lake George Chamber and CBP Board for promotions, and we just got their contract and what they're gonna do with the money and their budget yesterday. So Mary can explain, we're trying to, you know, if we have to go out for an RFP for this, which I think we do, it's gonna take about 3 months. So I'll let Mary explain what we wanna do.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out where to start. Like Supervisor Molina said, the CVB brought a plan to the county. We received it Friday, I believe. We had a meeting with them yesterday. And they're asking for $300,000 to do a bunch of different services for the county. I spoke with Julie, and we believe that it needs to go out for an RFP. And 3 months is probably not long enough, correct?
With our workload right now is very difficult to get anything done that.
How long do you think we need?
This one, we already have an RFP that we've done in the past, so we can just update that. We're not starting from scratch after the FCPA. 4 months, we could probably make it work.
Okay, so I believe that Supervisor Merlino is looking to enter into a contract with the CVB for the 4 months it takes to get an RFP out. I think that's...
The money's already been approved in our budget that we passed in December, give them the money, but because this is a change in the contract, they didn't realize, and I guess I'll have to say I didn't realize either, we'd have to go out for a whole new RFP. So we're just asking to allow us to have a contract with them now for 4 months. We said 3 yesterday, but 4. And to begin to use some of that money that's in the budget for them, otherwise they're out of business, right? You know.
How much are we gonna pay them for 4 months?
Well, we can do a percentage of the 300,000 if you want per month.
You're gonna take 300 divided by 12 and then pay them that amount?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
'Cause
how
right
you
now,
want-
they're gonna be basically in trouble. They assumed they were gonna come in with this yesterday and start getting the money, and it's just not, it doesn't work like that in government, you know, and, so, we already voted on the OCTAX money going to them, and it was in the OCTAX budget, it's been passed by the board back in December, and they assumed they'd just come in and start getting the money now this month, but when we found this out, it's just not working, so just to keep them rolling, otherwise they could be out of business and we could be destroying a lot of,
So that would be $100,000 for 4 months?
No, it'd be 75. I mean, if you're talking a quarter of 300.
quarter, you know, if you go by a quarter, it'd be,
Quarter of 300 is 75, right?
no.
So you're looking for $75,000 for 4
This
months?
way, that'll be enough to keep them going and start up, and when we put out the RFP, in my opinion, I don't think there's anybody out there capable of taking care of this RFP.
Is it 3 months or 4 months?
You mean 4
It's gotta
months.
be
She wants-
well, we had said
Oh, so
3,
you're
but
looking
if
for a
Julie thinks...
third?
She wants 4 months.
You're looking for a third.
Yeah, that's
That'd be
100,000, my math.
Right, 100,000, a third.
Sorry.
Supervisor Bramer.
We have a contract. Why aren't we extending the contract that we have for 4 months? I know it's not exactly the same services. This just seems like we're putting the cart before the horse, saying we're going to have this contract in place for 4 months when we don't even have that contract yet. We can't until we do the RFP.
Well, yeah, well, that's the problem. The other one now expired last year, so we're just trying to, we can't do, because it expired already, we can't go and say, let's extend it another 6 months. That's
Mary?
the problem with the laws of the way it's run.
Mary, why don't you speak to this?
It expired in June, so it's not like we're just extending. It lapsed for
We've
that
been going,
period.
I'm sorry.
Supervisor Loeb?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Listening to the committee, there's a lot of opinions and some language. Opinions are that the purchasing department is very busy and best not to keep piling on lots of that backtrack. And the language is that Julie said, I probably could get it done. I don't see that there's any necessity for us to put extra burden Julie's not gonna put off to next month if she can do it today. Give her the window of opportunity to do all the things that she has to do with the most efficiency. Unless this is the top priority and everything else happens. So I think 4 months, probably, it's not a great way to go. 5 months to 6 months, give her that window to do the job.
Buzz Wild?
Chairman, thank you. I just have to wonder if you're going to do it in 3 or 4 or 5 months, whatever it may be. Just doing a simple division of the total contract makes sense because there's more likely going to be some advertising buys and the like that we're going to be doing in the earlier part of the year, not necessarily in the middle of our season. Just a thought.
That's basically right, because this time of year we start advertising for the spring and summer.
Vice President.
Well, we've gone without a contract since June. How can we enter into a contract now if we're supposed to go to an RFP before we enter into a contract? That seems what I'm trying to make the point.
Well, you've got perfect sense, you're right, but what happened, they had a changeover of executive directors.
Right.
And a lot of it got put by the wayside. And now they're coming forth with what they want to do, but they thought we were just going to walk in.
Someone tell me how we can enter into a contract today for 4 or 5 months when we're supposed to do an RFP to enter into such a contract.
Good question. Mary?
Well, I mean, it's a legitimate question. I don't debate it. But if you don't work something out with them, you're going to put them out of business. Easy for you to say,
what's the money limit? Can we go, is there a money limit that says up to a certain dollars we don't need an RFP?
Well, yeah, $5,000.
Oh.
20. Huh? Was it 20,000?
5 is 3 quotes.
Huh?
5 is 3 quotes.
Yeah, we got to get 3 quotes for 5, or for 20. And 5 you can go without it. I mean, we can do 5 and have a thing every month, every week for 5,000. It's just a problem because we're going to put this place out of business, and it's going to hurt the. Right now, tourism is up 5.5% in op tax, and we're up 2.2% in the sales tax revenue. A lot of money, $1 million over last year, and you know, we don't want to.
Who was paying them in July, August, September?
They weren't getting paid. The contract was over, and they were working on the new one. But because of the turnover of the new person that came in October, it never got done. And you know, this is what's happening. And they used up the funds that they've been using that over the end of the contract in June. They're out of money right now. So, you know, if you want to shut them down, that's fine. But
Gene, I don't want to shut them down. I don't want to do something we're not allowed to do either.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of this work has already been carried out by Warren County Tourism Department, so perhaps the answer is having Warren County Tourism make sure that some of these things will still move forward. That this expanded contract to the CBB is a brand new expanded version of what we have been doing for years as well. If there was any way to fund them at their past level,
But that's what we were looking for, but we found because it expired in June 30th, it's tough to extend that contract. Am I right in saying it that way?
You can't extend it unless you're going to make it retro back to July 1st. Then you can extend it. But, I mean, there's no extending it. You're just asking for it to go forward from this date. It's going to have to be a new contract. I'm not speaking to the legality of it or if you can do it under the purchasing policy. I'm just saying you can't use extend. You can't use that word.
So moving forward for 4 months, we're going to give them $100,000. Is that what you're looking for out of finance?
Right. I mean, it's in the budget already. It's not that we're adding money to it. If this paperwork would have been done right, they would have got it today, you know.
Yes.
Well, that's excuse me, I got to enter. That's the problem. It dropped. It should have never dropped. That's a real problem when these things drop, and then we're put under a gun to vote on something that, you know, that you just get. Nobody's read it. I mean, I understand concerns, but somebody needs to get on top of this and stay on top of this information, and when it raises a red flag, I don't know who's responsible for it, but we need to figure that out. And because really, you're coming in, you have it, none of us have it, we don't even know what it says, and you're asking us to spend $100,000 with them when they really dropped the ball on this. And I understand it shouldn't have happened, and we've got to tighten up.
And I don't disagree with you, and that's why I said way back early in this meeting, we should start looking at a contract in September, so that we catch up on these things. We've had a couple here today that we don't have contracts on, and it runs...
Well, hopefully that stuff will be sent out to committee anyways.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need, I mean, I can live with it. I'm not happy about this.
Well, I mean, when something's happened, it's not anybody did anything, wrong. It's just, it expired, and it should have been redone to have it ready for January 1st.
Is the information that we're going to put in the RFP the same information?
No, it changes. That's because they're going to do different things, and it's almost 80,000 more than it was last year. Last year was 220.
Julie?
Yeah, I just want everybody to know, with ongoing contracts that go through my office or bids, we do keep them on the table, but I was told last year not to do any RFP for this, that the county was not going to contract for these services. So I would have sent a new set of specs to Joanne and Tourism to get things started, but I was told not to do that. So I just want to let everybody know that our office does keep track, and we start...
Could I ask who told you that?
Pardon?
Who told you not to send a new contract?
Joanne told me not to send a new contract, not to do a new RFP, that the county was probably not going to fund it. So I'm not sure, I've not been involved in any meetings.
But did she mean not to tourism, because we took it away from out of tourism budget to put it into the OPTAX budget?
It could be, like, even the OPTAX money is considered county money. Once that comes into the county, it still has to follow the purchasing policy. Even the asset forfeiture money that the sheriff's office gets, they have to follow the purchasing policy of that money. So...
Chairman? I think the confusion came about because I think there was going to be a new contract. New scope of services. Timing on it.
Right. Mike Consulo retired in October, and they got a new person, and it just wasn't picked up in time. I just,
Okay, so here's what we got. We know the ball's been dropped. Okay, we can discuss that till the cows come home. What can we do going forward legally? Because I think we all agree that they need the money. But what can we do legally? And I agree, it's got to be done legally, that they can get some funds from Warren County. So I don't have that answer. I'll refer to Mary. What are our legal options in trying to give this, the CVB some funds? What's our road?
The county purchasing policy states that any contract over $5,000 up to $19,999 needs to have 3 quotes. If it's $20,000 or over, it needs to go out for RFP. Now, that's the county policy. What you decide to do as a board is your choice. So if you want to follow the county policy, then those are the parameters. If you would like to award this contract and go outside of those policies, then that's your choice as a board.
well, I don't want to go outside the policies totally, because I still really want this to go out to RFP. But I really would like to get, what you want to call it, an emergency resolution, to give them some of that money that's set aside for this already, to keep them funded for the next 3, maybe 4 months. And then when this comes back, whoever gets it, and I know they'll get it, they'll just now continue for the next 8 months, because it won't make it a 1-year contract instead of renewable.
So Gene, or Supervisor Molina, are you saying that if we don't do anything, meaning they're going to go out of business, they're going to have to fire that person?
But it's going to be, that's what we got yesterday. There'll be a couple of people have to be laid off at the...
Or persons.
A couple of them. And some of the contracts that have to be done here on some of the places they go to promote the counties not be done. So by not doing anything, you're going to hurt, in my opinion, not us. We're not going to hurt them, but they're going to hurt themselves by not going out to these places.
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wonder if it really makes sense to consider going with an RFP the end result might be that you have a different firm, a different individual doing this. It's almost like a relief pitcher coming into a baseball game, right? They're not going to have the same stuff. They're not going to have the same ideas. Things that may have been in the works may get put aside. So almost, to me, it makes sense that if this are qualified individuals and we can amend the policy that we have, this was my understanding of 1 year kind of trial for additional funds, provide additional funding for the CBB. Give them a shot.
Julie, I'm really sorry. Mary, I mean, can we just go ahead as a board here and then on the board meeting on Friday, renew that old contract for 1 more year, even though it expired? Leave it like it is so that, you know...
If you make it retroactive and it's the same terms and conditions, yes, you can renew the contract.
I mean, that would be legal, and I think if we can do that, that would save problems down the road and keep continuity going.
But I believe that the renewals have run out.
I would have to check. I didn't know that was up for discussion. There may have been one more extension on that, under that RFP.
I truthfully believe there is, but they didn't, because of the transition in September, they did not renew that one more option because they wanted more money. That's part of the problem. They wanted a bigger share of the OPTAX money. So that's why they didn't renew it again. They do have an option for 1 more year.
Supervisor Loeb and then Chairman Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're discussing, and it looks like you're coming to a resolution as far as providing the short-term funding, but I want to go back to the RFP process and putting on purchasing. If you're going to say it was 4 months, I would like comments from the committee as to why you're putting this burden and not giving any flexibility.
Well, if we can renew the old contract, there won't be a burden. We don't have to go with the 4 months.
I think that goes back to the point that Franklin made right in the beginning. I think that's the much preferred path. If both parties are agreeable, obviously, both parties would have to be agreeable. It's a contractual thing, is to renew it, subject to the final process that you go through. And I just think that's a better foundation to do this on.
And I agree. I think that'll work well if we can just renew the other. I think the other one was 220. So in the meantime, they're running. However long it takes Julie to get a new RFP out, even if it's in September, then we'll use the rest of the money.
Assuming they're agreeable.
So why don't we?
They got no excellent choice.
So why don't we have Julie look into this, and then maybe we could bring it from the floor Friday. Is that okay?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So let's have Julie look into this, see if there is a renewal, one more renewal, and then we could, instead of voting on it today, why don't we just bring it from the floor on Friday?
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Privilege of the floor. We got it all covered, Travis? Okay, good. Supervisor Wild.
Chairman, thanks again. Just one other question. It seems like that there's a lot of contracts that are not managed well. You know, I don't want to point a finger at someone, but a lot of contracts that we're not following up on. Whose responsibility is that? Is that within a department within the county? Is it within the committees? It's just a general question. But being new, I'd kind of like to get a sense of who's responsible and whether some of that might fall on my shoulders.
I think it's a mix, honestly. I think it's a mix of department heads as well as the county attorney. I don't know if you, like you said, you really can't point a finger at anybody. But in the future, maybe this gets vetted in the budget process, and then we could point fingers.
Well, I certainly can bring this up to department heads, and we certainly need to involve them more in sharing their responsibility. If they have a contract that directly affects their department, that they need to become more involved in it rather than signing it and putting it away on a shelf like what we're seems to be doing now. And so, you know, I'll bring this up to the department heads, and we'll talk about it, see if we can't get it worked out.
Mary?
I can speak to how we currently do it. every department head is responsible for their own contracts in their department. Our office doesn't even know if they're up for renewal. We depend on the department heads to come in and tell us our contract is expiring with this organization, we need it renewed. It would just be impossible for our office alone to keep track of every single contract in this county. So we depend on them to tell us when they need to be renewed. We depend on them to come to us and say they're not following the contract, we need some sort of action on it. So currently it's up to each department head.
If I may, just like, for example, the SBCA contract, what department would that fall under?
Sheriff.
It would fall under sheriff, yes.
And
Travis?
What department would the Iowa Pacific, the train fall under?
Facilities?
Facilities, I would assume.
No, it's rail.
DPW.
Rec.
Or DPW. I'm
Parks
sorry,
and
DPW,
Recreation.
yeah.
Parks and Recreation.
So that would be
DPW.
DPW.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So just
Supervisor
one more,
Molina.
I'm sorry, one more if I may, and it's just from my business experience. What gets measured gets done. So what we really need to do is kind of put these measures on the department heads.
Yeah.
They're responsible to make sure these contracts are followed through, followed up. We have the data that we need.
Yeah, it's something we're going to be talking about tomorrow in goal setting, and I will definitely add this to our agenda.
Supervisor
And the only last comment, and I can understand, you're 100% right, but I can see how this is now thinking about it, because back in September, we did want to take it out of tourism and put it in OCTAX. Because OCTAX would put it in tourism, so it looked like the tourism budget was $300,000 more than it is, so we went with the OCTAX. So that's what happened. We didn't tell OCTAX to submit, or have them submit another. So it fell through the cracks a little bit. It's not, nobody really did anything wrong, but it just fell. And they had a change of leadership and new executive director, and we've been working with them for months on this contract, and it finally came. But now all of a sudden, when it came at the meeting yesterday, we found out, well, we got to put it out for RFP. So it fell through the cracks, but I don't think anything is wrong. And I think what we could do Friday, I think they can live with that. And if the RFP comes back by September and we pick them, then they get the rest of the money.
Well,
So
we would have to have the RFP done by the end of the term of the extension.
right. Well, we'll do it now. Yeah,
Short-term
we'll get it done. Yeah, definitely.
Right. But I just want to mention that those, the amounts under the previous RFP, every year we negotiated those amounts. We never went with a maximum. So I don't know if that.
I think the maximum was 220 anyway. You have to look at it.
It went up each year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It started at about 80,000. Yeah, I think it was. If you look that up,
I think it was
let me know.
210. I think it was 210.
210.
Yeah.
So that 210 would suffice them to get them going for 6 months. That's out of my mind on that.
Okay, anyone else?
All right, get back to me later.
Going retroactive back to 2000. Oh, yeah, that was
It says me here.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for coming to the special finance meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion made by Supervisor Beatty, second by Supervisor Simpson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.